Hello students, welcome to second PUC political science class. First and foremost, I congratulate all of you to come to the second PUC class. Now today we are going to learn about the origin and growth of Indian political system. In first PUC in political science, you studied about the various concepts like meaning of political science, about the state or sovereignty, law, rights, etc. Now in the second year, you are all going to study about the various political systems in India, like the first general elections, and also we study about the election methods in India, and also we study about party system, we study about the administrative machinery, etc. In the second year, first chapter or first unit is, that is the origin and growth of Indian political system. So in the first chapter, what are the various topics we are going to study? So one of the very important topic we are dealing is the Government of India Act 1935, Indian Independence Act 1947, interim government, first general elections, integration of princely states, reorganization of states, and geopolitical map. So this is the various topics we are covering in the first chapter. So in the first chapter, as I told, we are dealing with the various acts and also about the interim government and also the reorganization of states. So what is the objective of studying the first chapter? So one of the very important objective is to understand the legacy of national movement and to inculcate the spirit of nationalism among the students. So important objective is to understand the legacy of national movement and also to inculcate the nationalism, spirit of nationalism among the students. And the second important objective is to understand the various acts passed by the Britishers, and these acts later on it influenced to the framers of the constitution to frame the Constitution of India. And also the next important objective is political development and interim government, to know about the political development and also about the interim government. And also to understand about the working of the Constituent Assembly, how the Constituent Assembly discussed and drafted the Constitution of India. The next important objective of this particular chapter is to understand the hurdles in integration of states and understand the basics of reorganization of the state. So we know that in India there are nearly 565 princely states were existed, and these princely states were not ready to join with the Indian Union. So there was a lots of challenge regarding that. To understand that, we are discussing this particular topic. And the last one is, the objective of this particular chapter is reorganization of the states, to understand the integration and reorganization of states. So that is the various important objectives. Students, To know about the development of growth of Indian political system, we must ponder about the national freedom struggle. As you all know that the Indian freedom struggle was the greatest mass movement in the world history. It is the greatest mass movement. Now you may ask why it is called as mass movement. Because in the Indian freedom struggle, people from all strata of the society, they have participated. From the farmers, students, philosophers, educationists, journalists, lawyers, scientists, everybody, they participated in the freedom struggle. So it is known as the mass movement in the world history. And there are several leaders who mobilized millions of people into political action. There are several leaders who actually participated, dedicated their entire life for the sake of freedom struggle. Starting from establishment of Indian National Congress, people like M.G. Ranade, W.C. Banerjee, Dadabhai Naoroji, or Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Rajguru Sukhdev, then lots of leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, C. Rajagopalachari, all these stalwarts, they dedicated their life for the freedom struggle. They motivated the people all over India to get into the freedom struggle and participate in the freedom struggle. So it was the biggest challenge faced by the British Empire, where they have decided to leave India in 1947. So this is the greatest mass movement in the history of the world. The movement was original, innovative and democratic. Now the Indian freedom struggle is known as, it is the original, innovative and democratic movement. Now why it is original? The freedom struggle of India, it fought on certain values like non-violence, truth. On these bases, the freedom struggle of India, it was fought. And there are various movements like Salt Satyagraha or Alipta Chadwali. These are the various movements that led to the freedom struggle. The freedom struggle of India, it was original, innovative and democratic. Why it is original? There are various movements like non-cooperation movement, SALT movement or Quit India movement. These are the various new methods through which the freedom struggle was fought in India. Mass people, they have participated in the freedom struggle. And also it is innovative. Why it was innovative? Because Mahatma Gandhi, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, the rural people, farmers, students, unions or scholarly people, they have participated in this movement. And also it was a democratic in character. The struggle was not planned by the leaders, but it was mobilized through the masses. So it was a democratic in character. The Indian freedom struggle, there are various ideals they are involved in this. Which are the various ideals are involved in this? Like popular sovereignty. Indian freedom struggle, it upheld the principle of or the ideals of popular sovereignty, representative government, civil liberty, self-reliant economy, secularism. These are the values which upheld it, and on that basis the freedom struggle was fought. And also in the foreign policy, we can see that the Indian foreign policy, it was against to the fascism, it was against to imperialism, it was also against to colonialisms. So on these principles, the freedom struggle was fought. There are various ideals which enshrined in the constitution, and also it is incorporated in the policies and programs of the government and political parties. Whatever the ideals which were upheld in the freedom struggle, later on that ideals were incorporated in the Indian constitution and also the various policies and programs of the government and also the political parties. So in total, what we can say that the freedom struggle of India, which was a mass movement and also which upheld certain values and ideals, on that basis we have attained the freedom, or we got independence in 1947. Now when India attained the independence, Mahatma Gandhi, he told that once, the freedom struggle of India, it is the moment of rejoice and mourning. Why Gandhi said that it is a moment of rejoice? Because we got freedom from the slavery. We became independent nation. And at the same time, it is the time of mourning also. In the history of the world, we witnessed that India was divided into two nations. Partition took place. When Britishers they left India, they divided India into two nations, that is India and Pakistan. So this bitterness, it created lots of problem in the country. It divided the territory and also it led into the various problems like migration. It led to the problem of partition of the territory and also communal violences. There are thousands of people or millions of people, they migrated from India. Hindus are migrated from India and Muslims are migrated from India, and Hindus they are migrated from Pakistan. And there are also communal violences had taken place. Millions of people are killed in the communal violences. That repercussions we can see even in the future also. So that led into the problems in the future also. So now, as India got the independence, you know that India was facing several problems. The problems like agricultural and industrial stagnations and economic backwardness. India was economically very, very poor country. Nearly 40% of people are living below poverty line. And also there was agricultural backwardness, there was a shortage of food, there was illiteracy, unemployment, health problems, ignorance, and also inequality was prevailed in the society. So the main important task for independent India, what are the various important challenges it has to be faced after the independence? So one of the important tasks faced by the independent India is territorial and administrative integration of India. So one of the important tasks. So the independent India, it faced lots of challenges. What are the challenges independent India faced? So one of the very important challenge it faced is, one is territorial and administrative integration. Territorial and administrative integration. So students, After the independence, you know that when the Britishers they left India, the nation was not united. It was divided into so many princely states. Each independent king was ruling a particular province. So territorially it was not integrated. There was no administrative machinery to look after the administration of India. All the administrative machinery which were established by the Britishers, they were existed in India. So that was the biggest challenge the India faced. The second important task faced by the independent India is framing the constitutions. So we required our own constitutions. The rules and regulations or the acts which were made by the Britishers, that was prevailed in India. So that was the biggest challenge it faced by the independent India. Framing of the constitution. Framing of the constitution. And the third important challenge faced by India is the establishment of representative government and responsible government. So we know that we did not had any kind of representative government. When the Britishers they were ruling, for all the legislatures, the Britishers they were nominating the people. Even though there was elections, that elections were not direct elections, but indirect elections was conducted. So representative democracy was not existed. So we wanted to establish a representative government where people they can elect their own representative and run the government. So that was the biggest challenge. And the fourth important challenge faced by the independent India is pushing the process of nation building. So nation building, that is another important challenge faced by independent India. You know, we didn't have a concept of nation itself, because all the territories of India, they were divided and they were ruled by the princely states. So there was no concept of nation itself. So the biggest challenge it faced by the administrative machinery in the beginning of the independence is building a nation and developing nationalism, feeling of nationalism among the Indians. That is the biggest challenge faced by the independent India. So these are the challenges which faced by India. So this was a big task, and the task which is faced by the independent India. Now let us discuss the various political development in India. So students, till now I discussed about the various ideals and also the various values which was upheld by the freedom struggle, national movement, and how it is influenced to the framing of the Indian constitutions, or how it is influenced in the future policies and programs of the government, or future the functions of the political parties. Now in the second part of this particular chapter, I am discussing about the various political events it happened in India. Now students, the Britishers they came to India in 1600 through the East India Company. So as you all know that the British Empire was not came first to India. Instead of the British East India Company, it came to India in 1600. The East India Company, it came for the purpose of doing business. So they were doing business in the various parts of India. Till 1757, the East India Company it was just doing the business. But in 1757, in the Plassey War, the East India Company, it captured political power in India. In the 1757 war, students, you must remember these dates or years, events. 1757, the Plassey War, where the East India Company, it captured the political power. So till that time, from 1600 to 1757, East India Company was just, they were doing the business. They were not at all involved in the political activities. But for the first time in 1757, in the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company acquired the political power. So company had ruled from 1757 to till 1858. The British East India Company ruled India from 1757 to 1858. So what happened in 1858? As you all know that in 1857, there was a first war of independence, or it is Sepoy Mutiny. Now why the Sepoy Mutiny it had taken place? The company's rule in India, it was a utterly failure. Why it was failure? Because there was lots of corruptions when the company was ruling. There was exploitation of people and also the discriminations. So the company, it was ruled, it has conducted a maladministrations. There was discrimination of people. There was a notorious corruption was existed, and also there was exploitation of the people. So people, they agitated against this, and in the first war of independence was fought in 1857. So 1857, it is called as Sepoy Mutiny, or First War of Independence. First War of Independence. First War of Independence. So in 1857. After that, after the mutiny, the power was transferred from company to the crown. So for that purpose, there was an act was passed. That act is known as 1858 Act. It's known as 1858 Act. It transferred the power from company to the crown. So please remember, this is very important act which transferred the power from company to the crown. After 1858, India was directly ruled by the Britishers. So the British Parliament, it started to make laws for India. The British executive, it started to issue the various executive orders to India. It started to appoint the Governor General to India. So all the administrative machinery, it handed over from the company to the British Crown. So this is the major change, it took place in 1858. Now after 1858, after the power it was transferred from company to the crown, what happened in India? See, another important political event, it took place in 1885. The Indian National Congress was established by a British officer called A.O. Hume. So in 1885, INC was established. So what is INC? INC means Indian National Congress was established in 1885. It was established as a debating club. First, when the Indian National Congress was established, it was like a debating club where the British officers and the various scholars of India, they acted as a advisory agency to the British crown. Later on, the Indian National Congress, it took the leadership of the freedom struggle. That we will discuss later. But before that, so please remember the very important, significant development in the Indian political system was the establishment of Indian National Congress in 1885 by a British officer called A.O. Hume. A.O. Hume. A.O. Hume. Later on, after that, the Britishers, what they did, the Britishers, when the agitation, when the movement, it was started under the leadership of Indian National Congress to pacify the Indians, to meet the aspirations of the people, the Britishers, they responded with the various reforms and with various acts. So, to console the people of India, the Britishers, they made various kinds of reforms and also they have made various acts. So, which are the various important acts they were made by the Britishers. So, the important acts we must study here. One is Morley-Minto reforms. Morley-Minto reforms of 1909, and the second one Montego-Chelmsford reforms. Montego-Chelmsford report 1919, and Indian Government Act, Government of India Act, Government of India Act, (1935) and Indian Independence Act, 1947. Students, so to console the Indians, whenever there was a lots of pressure on the British government for the freedom of India or to the for the better administrations, the British government came out with the various reforms and acts. So, which are the acts or which are the reforms? One is Morley-Minto reforms of 1909. The second one, Montego-Chelmsford report of 1919. Now, what are the various important provisions of these reforms? The important provisions of the reforms of 1909 Act was to give opportunities to the native elements of Indian society, giving opportunities to the locals or to the Indians to participate in the administrative machinery. As you know that when the Britishers, they were ruling India, the higher post was reserved for the Britishers only. Only the lower posts like D group or clerk posts were offered to the Indians. All decision making positions were reserved for Britishers. So 1909 Act, which provided an opportunity to the Indians to participate in the various administrative machinery, and also it provided a separate electorate to the Muslims. The 1909 Act, it gave a separate electorate to the Muslims. So, what is separate electorates to Muslims means? Where the Muslims can vote only to the Muslim candidates and they can elect the representatives. So, that system was introduced in the 1909 Act or in the Morley-Minto Act or Morley-Minto reforms. So, these are the two important provisions. One is the Britishers, they gave opportunities to the locals to participate in the administrative machinery, and the second one is separate electorate for the Muslims. The second important reform or the act was made in 1919, that is known as the Montego-Chelmsford reform. The 1919 Act or Montego-Chelmsford reform, it introduced diarchy system in India. Diarchy system in India. The 1919 Act which introduced the diarchy. What is diarchy means? Diarchy means dual government. So, dual governments are two systems of governments in the provinces. It was established in the British India. So, in the 1919 Act, Montego-Chelmsford reforms, it introduced the diarchy system or dual, two system of governments in the British provinces. So, students, whenever there was a lots of pressure on the British government, they enacted the various acts and also they brought various reforms in the administrative machineries. So, the next important reform they brought in 1935. So, what is 1935's Indian Government Act? Why it was enacted? Regarding all that, we will discuss in the next class.